Behind every good business is a story of ingenuity, perseverance, and revelation. For International Women's Day, Fiat Republic is taking a closer look at equity in the workplace, alongside Block's communications lead, Teresa Ferreirós. Enjoy! Behind every legend is a story of ingenuity, perseverance, and revelation. This episode is no exception, and we will explore the making of legends in the context of Women's Day. So, let's introduce the guests. To start, we have Teresa. Tell us a little bit about your history and what you currently do.
Hi everyone, Teresa here. I'm Galician from Galicia, which is a rural small region in Spain. But I've been living in Barcelona for the last 20 years. I came here to finish my degree in journalism, worked briefly as a journalist in an economic media at the beginning of my career, and then jumped to the communications and PR spaces. And I am currently actually kicking off my third week this week. So super recently joined Block as a comms lead for the Bitcoin hardware division for wallet and mining products we're going to launch this year. So super exciting time and super thankful for having me here. And yeah, looking forward to the chat.
Brilliant. Next, Inga.
Hi, everybody. My name is Inga. I am Polish. I'm based in Krakow, or just outside of Krakow. And I've spent the last 10 years working in tech companies, in tech industries. And I've joined Fiat Republic as a people manager about a month ago.
Finally, Kuba.
Hi, I'm Kuba, or Jacob, which is my full name, and I'm from Poland. I'm based in London right now, and I'm VP of Engineering in Fiat Republic, trying to build a strong engineering team based on equality and based on support for all the members of the team. Yeah, and I just can't help myself to say that actually, both Teresa and Inga are like from Galicia, just one Galicia in Spain and the other Galicia in Poland, because Krakow is also in Galicia.
Okay, so Teresa, let's start with you. So you're on communication, but you prefer the label of storyteller. What would you say is the main difference between messaging and storytelling?
So look, I have to say I love this question, Charles. I think they are both interconnected and they are really important for my job. But I would say messages are the tools and the story, it's like the piece of art you can create with those tools, right? Like when you have paintbrush, you have colors. By itself, they are different things. And then you can create and paint your artwork and you can tell a lot with that. Or even maybe to a more wide audience, it's like the lyrics, the instruments, and the members of a band, and then the song you sing, putting all that together. I think this explains a little bit the difference. And I like to say, or at least I like to relate my job more with the storytelling, because I think for brands, especially thinking on a long term and trying to build strong brands for the future and do real things for the world, when you really connect with your audiences through stories, it's like you're starting to write a book and you can open, you will have many different chapters, and maybe one of those chapters will be beautiful. One of those chapters might be a bad story to tell, but you have your audience engaged with that story you are telling. So I think that's the beautiful part, and that's why I think I love my job. Yeah, I would say that's the main difference. Messages are just information, right?
I shouldn't be surprised that all the analogies used right now were very poetic. Okay, so this brings us to Women's Day, and with any commemorative occasion, every company is scrambling to put something together and to cynically say, more so out of practicality than authenticity. So how do businesses then avoid doing things simply for the sake of it, and in the case of Women's Day, selecting and elevating stories to the company's actual mission and direction?
Look, I think it's a mix of different things and all together create the proper system, I would say. But I think it all starts going back to those stories and the tales you tell to the kids and these kind of things. It all starts with believing. And you need to have those beliefs really embedded probably in the founders of the company, in the top leadership, in the senior management. So these kind of initiatives and these kind of programs that are needed, because we can talk a lot about what kind of programs are more effective, if we should only do women's things. And I really like that we have two guys here and two women here, because it's not just about women talking about women's stuff. That won't help. We need allies. We need everyone being involved. And for this to happen, I think it needs to be a real belief. And I can, from my point of view as a storyteller, as a communicator, I can tell a story even though that mission is not real. And in this case, equality, inclusion, diversity is not embedded there. And I can tell a story about it because probably there's a company that can do something, have a couple of programs throughout the year. But if this really isn't a business priority and you don't put resources behind it, and that would be the second point I would highlight, putting resources, putting money, putting people's time, having these communities, because I've been in companies of many different types and approaches to this, and in many companies you can find that they exist women's communities, but are those members of those communities given the time? Are these part of the KPIs, for example, if there's a KPI system, or it's just asking those people to do things in their free time just because you want to have that section in your business review, right? So I think putting resources and then, executing those programs and auditing them. For example, having annual audits of what has worked and what has not worked. Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback to women in this case, but to allies also, and see how in those teams everything is working. And this brings me to the last point that I would say, which is having women and allies involved at the same time, because we are not going to solve anything if we don't have everyone on the same direction and rowing on the same ship. So I would say those are the 4 main points, I think.
Amazing. Okay, so let's take it from the higher level and go to the personal. Can you share any challenging or inspirational anecdotes regarding your professional career as a woman?
Look, I knew this question would come probably, and I've tried to look for interesting things to tell here, because I think I am nearly 40 now, so it's been a while that I've been working, and it's very different. I think of myself when I was 20 something, right, with my first jobs, with probably huge imposter syndrome and suffering a lot in those first meetings. But at that time, this concept was not even part of the debate, or you don't even talk about why women feel that way in the workplace. And now I can see, seeing behind. But I've also run in my career with really inspiring women and men, not only women, right? As I was saying before. But thinking about this, I want to, put the focus or highlight something that I am finding challenging lately, which is that now that this is on the public debate, everyone is speaking about this, as we were saying before, some probably from a stronger core belief and really trying to change things, some others just because they want to wash, image, etc. And there are lots of initiatives of, entrepreneurs, really successful women that are driving initiatives to help improve work-life balance, networking events, giving us opportunities as many men traditionally in business, had, and part of these clubs. I'm talking about these like social clubs where mothers can go now with their kids and they would be able to do networking, but also have a drink, but also have a workspace to work, right? And I feel these kind of initiatives are great, but they tackle a very small problem, because there are many mothers out there who are not in these business careers, I'd say, like more other non-qualified jobs, for example, that they don't need networking. They need probably someone who takes care of their kids at 5 a.m. in the morning when they are going to, start in their early shift at work. So I think that would be the next step. I'm not saying these other initiatives are not good, because they are. And I think, powerful women are the ones that are going to be, that it's going to be easier for them to put this out there and to give visibility to this. But I think we need to work together for these other realities. And also we are in in very easy countries to live in. At least me, probably Poland, maybe it's different situation in the different countries, but me, it's very easy to live here. But there are, unfortunately, so many countries in the world where girls from the start, they cannot even open a book. So again, from the powerful people having the resources, the money, the time to think about these kind of things, I think next is to think a bit beyond, right? And that would be. It's not challenging for me personally, but I find it challenging to agree. Some kind of this.
But that's also the thing, is the question is that we're all thinking outside of just our individual experiences, because that's how you tackle the larger issue. It isn't just about personal issues, it's about issues for everyone in this context, women. Okay, great answer. So Inga, I'm going to pass the original question to you. You have 10 years of experience in tech-focused companies, and everyone knows the driving story of tech companies is always growth-focused. How many daily active users do we have, for example? So in these metric-focused businesses, how does one grapple with keeping extrinsic goals, such as elevating diversity?
Yeah, very good question, Charles. Thank you. So as a reminder, tech industry and crypto's customer base in particular is believed to be diverse. And therefore, the workforce and then product should be built by diverse talent. So simply put, without women and diversity, there's no balance. Diversity is a key driver in development of any business and any product. So therefore, I've seen so much research and that there is a lot of research that proves that boosts to grow in businesses where the workforce is diverse. So let's remember one thing, that Bitcoin was designed to promote financial equity, and it was created to allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without relying on financial institutions. Therefore, the latest Web3 movement is really optimistic and forward-looking, but as an industry, I think we need to pay attention to where we are actually falling short.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. So just rolling from that, is there a difficult challenge or opportunity with regards to those above that are specific in the tech sector?
Yeah, definitely. There are a number of barriers and challenges. So post-pandemic reality has had a massive strain on our finances, our families, and our social life. So it's no wonder women are a lot more risk-averse than men. It's a relatively new industry, and from the start, it has been male-dominated. And I'm talking about, both fintech and crypto in this case, right? It doesn't have a solid female role models in place just yet. So there is a social barrier in that respect. Additionally, women's financial literacy is constrained by cultural norms in various countries, as indicated by the proportion of women who have actually finished upper secondary education. Another factor, connected to that is the proportion of women in STEM fields, which is a measure of women's digital and technology literacy, and it's currently at the 15% low worldwide. But, you don't have to be tech savvy to be part of this industry. So anyone interested and actually willing to learn can get to this field. I'm prime example of somebody who's not entirely, tech savvy, but I've been with the tech industry for over 10 years. But, there were so many steps that, can be taken and now offering benefits such as, training, mentoring and coaching opportunities. So I believe that we need more voices in our daily work and strategic decision-making processes when it comes to making important judgments. We really need to carefully consider how to create a gender-neutral environment and understand what women in the business genuinely need and desire from their employers, as well as what they value most, and is the first kind of step.
Great. Okay, so Kuba, we're now passing the torch to you. You also likewise have 15 years experience in tech. Is there anything from about that you'd like to add?
Yes, I think one thing that I saw through my those years of working in tech industry is that you see mostly men. That's, I think, that kind of cultural problem. When you're a woman and you want to join tech industry, you see men everywhere. You just see them everywhere, leaders of companies, etc. And I believe that good way to change that is to show women that are developers, programmers, CTOs, CEOs, show them more and make them available and audible. So everyone that joins doesn't see this man monolith. Men don't rule anymore here, right? Things has changed through last, I don't know, 50 years or more. But still, the picture that you see when you're joining this industry is still mostly men. I worked in many settings. I worked with in California startup, South America, south of US startups. I worked with Turkish, Bulgarian, Polish, worked in UK, and I saw this picture everywhere. So basically it's something that has to change all over the world, in my opinion.
So continuing from that, Kuba, your superiors are women, part of the LGBTQ plus community, and part of the founding team, which is evenly split between men and women. So what would you say are the significant differences from your previous experience?
Yeah, so starting from Martina, who is superior to me, who is our CTO. She's a really focused and goal-oriented person, like any good tech leader should be, just regardless of gender or orientation, right? But main difference I see from previous companies, previous occupations, is that from previous leaders, let's say, is that Martina is willing to hear and understand the needs of team members. It's not only that she says that she listens, she really tries to hear it. I believe that it's her life experience that makes it, because she had some obstacles, she had some not nice social situations previously, so now she knows that other people's also face obstacles and are sometimes different, and there's no one approach that can help one person to shine and work properly. I think that the good example is that in many previous tech leaders would say that you should prize most active or most audible people on team meetings to encourage others to speak up. But Martina understands that you have sometimes hold back those most active to make space for others, because, for example, someone is introvert and he will just wait for whole meeting and don't say a word if he's not given the space, right? So I think this is one big difference.
As somebody who's in a completely different department to Martina, I can attest to the fact that her involvement in the company is very dedicated and goes very wide. Okay, so now we're gonna...
I wanted to say this is so cool for this example. This goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of really believing what you are trying to do. In this case, Martina, she has that empathy because she has lived those situations. Other person that maybe hasn't, but that listens to these kind of stories might. So that's the difference about that between believing and then creating impact or not. Yeah.
Without question. Okay, so now we're going to open the discussion. So let's work backwards from all of your experiences to the state of the industry as a whole. First of all, how do we address the gender gap? The easiest question first.
I can take that one. That's okay. So, fintech can most and foremost ensure that hiring practices are fair and equitable. I think it's a no-brainer, and the only way to oppose gender biases is really to nip it in the bud at the very early stages, and by that I mean the recruitment stage. A bias-free recruitment process is actually key, as well as offering meaningful benefits to women, such as extended maternity leave, or making sure businesses are equipped with a broad range of, diverse policies, such as, miscarriage policy or menopause policy, and offering mental health support, but to both men and women. Creating employee resource groups is another great way to encourage women to actually join and fully participate in their roles. And the power of these circles is getting more and more, recognition in workplaces. And it certainly has been the center of my focus during my career. So yeah, and what Teresa said at the very start, we need male allies more than ever. That's why, it's fantastic to be part of this podcast, with you two guys here as well. And I'm extremely proud to be working at an organization where there is just such a great balance between men and women in both, the founding team and the leadership team, because that really sets the right tone, and it really clearly defines, where the company stands on, diversity issues.
Brilliant. Anybody want to add to that?
I couldn't click the mic, sorry. No, just very quickly, I want to go back to what Inga said a moment before, and what I think Jacob experienced when he talks about Martina, which is the importance of putting role models out there. And because I think that really, when you relate to someone like yourself, and find the right balance between those role models covering different realities. It's not just about, again, as I was saying before, super successful, wealthy women, rocking the world, but also about real life women. And we all struggle with very human, I'd say, challenges in life. And also, at least in my case, it's just been very recently that I started to hear about, as Inga mentioned, these kind of policies about miscarriages, menopause, even period, when someone really suffers of period cramps and pain there. So I think this is also very important because it's a reality. This is not, and I mean, we are born with this. It's not something you like you choose, right? And probably other minorities that men might have their own problems with it, which is what I go back to the same thing. It's not just about us, but in this case, to really try to balance a little bit things, you need this positive reinforcement and measures, probably.
Amazing. Great. Okay. So now we touched upon this on the original question. And so what I want to know is, how do we preempt virtue signaling? And what I mean by virtue signaling is, simply kind of doing things out of practicality to commemorate events and show people that you support these causes and actually support the causes, and that your messaging is actually aligned with your behavior.
I think I can say a word here. Basically, you need first to believe. So that means that you have to have people from minorities in your team. If team is made only from privileged people, it's really hard for them to imagine all those obstacles that minorities face, right? So also what Inga said previously, start from recruitment. Even if you are, our company is in good place because we have minorities in co-founders team and in Exco, etc. So it's easier. But if you don't have start from recruiting phase, and if you find proper talents, put those people that are from minorities, so they will help to tell you how to do the real thing rather than only just say empty words, right? That's my point of view here.
Great. Anybody else?
No, I totally agree with the believing parts I was saying before. And I think it's like, find your mission. If you don't really believe in this thing about, making the workplace more inclusive for women, go and find the environmental one. I don't know, but because if not, it's going to be really hard, again, for this to make it work. You can maybe do one project that is successful, but then on the long term, as I was saying before, you will have bad times. You might say you are a super inclusive employer, and then when the first restructuring comes, 90% of the people you're firing is women, and you don't even care about some of them being in a pregnancy leave, for example. So you have been blah blah blah, and now you face reality, and people will realize about this. So I'd say, find the causes you really want to fight for. There are many, many, many out there.
Okay. But one of the vital focal points of making diversity work and leading to business flourishing is incentives. So what are the right and wrong ways to structure incentives within the company?
I'd say, I don't know. I mean, I can only relate to the incentives that I found useful for me, for example. But I think, finding the right problems that you want to tackle with those incentives. And then I think going back to what Kuba said before about the recruitment process and eliminating bias, I don't know who of Inga or Kuba was this, like really investing in this and educating at that very initial part, recruiters and wider teams, because we all have this cognitive bias in life. I mean, I keep surprising myself with me. I mean, I've been really thinking about these kind of things like women problems, inclusion, etc., and I keep finding myself saying nonsense sometimes, and I realize, oh my God, you have been so biased with this. So really understanding this, putting example, again, going back to role models, seeing real cases of people that have struggled with this and how you can help, maybe doing focus groups with minorities, as Kyo was saying, present in the company. Those should be the ones that should help, evaluate if an incentive is right for them or not, I would say. But yeah, not super familiarized with like innovation in incentives in companies,
I think I have one idea. It's like everybody has their struggles. Everybody faces obstacles, right? Everybody, even the most privileged people. So if you try to find and allow everybody in company to tell you about their obstacles, struggles, fears, and do anything to take them from them, right? To remove the obstacles, even if they are small, then they will be probably willing to help others and understand others' obstacles. Like if you can talk freely about the things that that are hard for you at work, if you are unable to, if you are heard when you talk about it, then you will probably give more space for others to also to tell what are their struggles, and you will be more willing to help them. So it's just like, try to make this culture of support and hearing others rather than like, old school culture of just work 12 hours a day.
100%. And I feel that, employee resource groups are, one way of encouraging these conversations, because you connect with like-minded people, and then you have these safe spaces in which, you can talk about, anything really. So, I have experience of, working across all different kind of employee resource group. One was for especially created just for women. Second one for neurodivergent employees. The third one was for our BAME employees in my previous workplace. So, we've seen the successes of these groups, of these circles, which really do encourage conversations and really surface, any potential issues out that can then be discussed in, with the leadership should they arise. So yeah, that's one way.
Brilliant. Teresa, you want to say something?
Yeah, no, so just to close, was just an idea coming to my mind now. Maybe it's also about like having general incentives. Of course, again, what Inga was saying now, it's when you define them, like right, like when you structure those incentives programs. But maybe it's about having part of them as a general incentives for everyone in the company, but then have specific incentives by teams, because maybe one team is very heavy on women and they need, I don't know, different paid time off, or they have different needs. Maybe in another team the problem is that they have to, I don't know, travel to go to conferences, so they need the other kinds, so they struggle with different kind of things, right? And among those it would be some focused on creating a more diverse workplace for women, but maybe there are teams where there are no women because it happened, and they shouldn't be left aside, right? So I think that would make also a good balance on an incentives program across a company.
Amazing. Thank you. So, any additional comments? Any final thoughts? Nope. Well, I think it's probably because we've been very constructive. It's been very lovely talking. So, thank you, Teresa, Inga, Kuba, and thank you all for watching. Have a look at our channel. Who knows? You might find more that you enjoy.